Hello, this is Lauren speaking, and if you're new to my channel, I am a professional astrologer. In this video, I'm doing a little something different. I would call it a spontaneous live birth chart reading with an individual that I don't know, and just getting the birth data, bringing up the chart, and calculating with my own eyes without using any package. Just a spontaneous reading of whatever comes up to me. Now, you'll see in the chart provided as you listen to the audio of the spontaneous live chart reading that I've highlighted birth aspects, we could say, in the birth chart in blue. The solar arcs will be in green, and the transits will be in red. Also, in the description below this video, you'll see timestamps with the astrological, we could say, jargon or measurement that I'm reading, but I'm not telling that to this individual. I'm not using any astrological jargon within our conversation, but if you study astrology, it will be interesting for you to follow along in the description so that you can see, as I show you in the horoscope, what I'm looking at as I talk to this individual. So I hope this is an interesting learning lesson for those of you that study astrology, and so that you can also see, if you don't study astrology, what an astrologer can see or is looking at as they bring up a person's chart and start having a conversation. So I'll leave it at that and on to the recording. Thank you so much. Talk soon. Bye-bye. Okay, so here we go. I'm taking a look at your chart and I'm starting to record, and I have your permission to record this, right?
Yes.
Yes, I do. Okay. So now I'm going to just flipping between screens here. I'll make sure that's still recording. Bringing your chart up. Okay. So just double checking that. Yes, still recording. Very good. Okay, so interesting. Do you know anything about your chart, astrology? Do you know what sign your moon is in? What your rising sign is?
I think of some basics.
Yeah.
So Aquarius in the moon.
That's right.
And Scorpio
rising. That's exactly right. Okay, very interesting. Okay, because the first thing that kind of stands out to me is this emotional need that in order to find fulfillment in life on an emotional level, it's that moon in Aquarius. And what does it need to be? It needs to be out of the box, eccentric, quirky, but it needs to help people. That's really important. You resonate with that?
Yeah.
You're needing to help people. So I could ask you, and just give a brief answer if you don't mind, how do you find an outlet for helping people? How have you found an outlet for helping people?
I've done a lot of work with kids.
Yeah.
And a lot of work in the arts.
Yeah. Creativity.
Create art.
Absolutely. Because children and creativity are highlighted here. Because you have, I don't like to talk technically because it confuses people that don't study astrology, but you've got the moon in the area of life that has to do with creative self-expression, which can be through coaching, teaching children, working with children, this kind of thing. So absolutely.
Yep.
With that Scorpio rising, and you have an interesting setup with that, I have a lot of questions I could ask you, okay? Because Scorpio is very intense. It likes to go to the depths of things or the heights of things. It doesn't like the middle ground too much. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And it needs to be in control. And it finds a way to be in control by knowing things. Do you understand? So, I could say just right off the bat, I see a few things here, like I could ask you about in the early home life or the early childhood, the influence of the family life and the parents and all this is very important, and I can see that there's, let's say, a pattern here that can suggest several things, but that someone or some situation may have suppressed your sense of individuality or your sense of personal power expression.
Right.
Do you resonate with that? Because, go ahead. Because this ties into both parents, actually. So there could have been, for example, a mother situation where the mother was overly intrusive or overly protective or overly smothering. Does that resonate in your case?
I think not intrusive or smothering.
Okay.
But my mother is very stressed about everything.
Yes.
And a lot of things had this response about, like, people-pleasing and making sure that everyone's okay all the time.
People-pleasing, that's very interesting. Do you think that you kind of took on that?
Yes.
Yes, okay, I can see that in the chart as well. Okay.
Yeah. And I think there was that, it was all this thing about, we used to have a lot of fights about being rude, and whether Mum would say I was being rude if I said things that she wouldn't agree with and so on.
Okay, because so the controlling aspect could have come from the mother figure.
Potentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I also see here that right around the age of 3, 4 stands out very strong here. Now, I don't know whether the family moved or the father got a new job or something happened within the family life. Could have been a very positive change around the age of 3. Could have been the birth of a sibling, this kind of thing. Do you know what that is? Do you have a younger sibling, about 3 years younger? No.
No, older sibling, but when I was 4...
Yeah, 4. I'm going right around 3, 4.
Yeah, we traveled around the country for 5 months in a camper van. Which was, I think, a huge, very formative thing in my life.
And why was that? What was the father's work situation to have created that? You know what I'm trying to say?
It was a sabbatical.
Oh, your father took a sabbatical. Well, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And, however, at age 5, there could have been challenges, difficulties for the father. Do you know what he did when you were 5, like after this sabbatical time period?
I don't, unfortunately.
Okay.
I have poor memory of my childhood.
No, you shouldn't necessarily remember 3, 4, 5 without, like, talking to your parents. But it could be interesting for you to find out around the age of 5, because that's where there can be the challenges that occurred through the father, through his work possibly, through where you were living, all those kinds of things. Because where did you end up going after traveling around for a year?
We came back to the same city. Okay,
the same city, and your father obviously had to establish himself in a new way. Anyways,
so.
Those things could have impacted upon you. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Because, so, age 3, 4, 5 stands out here strong. Let me just see what else I see that around the age, now more or less, because I'm going to jump around some ages here, around the age of 12. Okay. Do you need years or ages work for you?
Ages work for me.
Okay, so right around the year of when you were about 12 years old, you might remember this or not remember this. What difficulties or challenges might have occurred either through one of your parents, through home life, or potentially with you? Was there a move of home around 12? Was there a change of schools around 12?
It wasn't, but my grandfather was sick.
Okay.
And around 12, 13, he was, pretty sick with cancer and was...
And were you close with him?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he was the closest, I guess, I was to my...
Did he have some kind of spiritual impact on you? This is just a symbolic language. I'm just looking at different possibilities. Did your creativity start to come out at the age of 12? Did you get into music or anything like that? Or... what you're describing is correct, is fine, but I'm just curious. It doesn't have to just be one event. Like your grandfather got sick, and how did that impact you? Did you lose your grandfather around that age?
Not yet, but it was kind of very much on the cards.
Did your mother? Was this your father, your mother's father, or your father's father?
Yeah, my mother's father.
So did your mother have to take care of her ailing father?
We live in a different city, so it wasn't so much that, but like he couldn't come to a few important life events and stuff like that.
Your life events.
Yeah.
Now we're getting to something here. Okay. Yeah. And so, how did that impact you? Because this can reflect sort of like a wipeout of the ego. I mean, it's quite young to have an ego wipeout, but there can be confusion, bewilderment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you do have a need to be important.
Sure.
All right?
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if his not being there to be able to come to you, how that impacted you. Now I'm seeing some other very interesting things in your horoscope, because there's very fixed energy here, meaning stubborn. I'm going to make my own decisions. I'm going to do what I want to do. Do you understand what I mean? Nothing wrong with that. But there can be kind of like two energies that are, one could be more orientated toward relationships, helping others, that kind of thing. And the other one can be, it can be this sense of, and you can tell me if this resonates with you, the sense of potentially feeling attacked or needing to stand up for yourself, to fight for yourself. Do you resonate with any of that?
I think probably less needing to stand up for myself. Feeling attacked, I guess it's more sometimes fear of that and fear of feeling attacked.
Okay.
But I guess I do sometimes have a problem with authority.
Well, thank you.
Things that I don't feel, especially if it doesn't feel deserved.
Yeah.
If someone's trying to tell me to do something or something, and I feel like they haven't had a place or in the system to do that, I struggle a lot. Yeah.
I mean, that's normal. And what about the expression of anger or of... do you have an explosive way of expressing your anger? No. Okay.
I have almost no expression of anger.
Okay, so do you feel like... Because this is right going on with relationships, and I'm just wondering whether it's like you feeling other people are trying to control you, or you are the one that's trying to control others, and that potentially causes a conflict in the relationship. Not intimate necessarily relationship. I'm talking about relating one-on-one to people.
Yeah, I think...
Because again, I got to go back to the childhood. Who put the blanket over your hand grenade? Who put the lid on your pressure cooker? What situation suppressed your sense of individual power?
That one, the childhood one, is a bit of a mystery to me, because I really very poorly remember my childhood.
That's okay, but I'm talking about from one of your parents or from the early home life situation. Okay, well...
But in terms of the control thing, I think sometimes... I can try and control things as a way of, feeling safe and protecting myself. And I'd struggle with things that are unpredictable, and have struggled in a relationship in the past with kind of a partner who was more unpredictable, and it was hard for me to know what was going to happen with them. And they struggled with feeling like they couldn't have these unpredictable... These spontaneous so big emotions that they wanted. I struggled with feeling safe if I didn't know they were going to come up.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
So that's definitely relevant.
Yeah, that makes sense, and that's probably something that in life you'll learn how to deal with. We all come here with certain challenges that we have to work through or whatever it might be, so that stands out. I'm just taking another quick look here. Oh, yeah, you have a really interesting chart. There can be this sense of practical self-sufficiency. It's almost like an emotional defensiveness that, like, we use the example of, like, I can do everything on my own, I don't need your help. Like a woman who can fix the engine of her car, she doesn't need a mechanic. She doesn't need to go to others to get things done. We call it practical self-sufficiency. But it can... sometimes box people out because I can do everything on my own. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Do you identify with that?
I'm not sure. That one I think I'd have to think about.
Okay. Well, you don't have to think about that, but there's this... you have quite an interesting chart here.
Because I'm usually really... like the company of others and like doing things with others.
That I can understand, but when it comes to getting things done and this fixing, like the example I just gave you.
Sure.
Would you rather kind of do it on your own, find a way to fix things on your own? I don't know. It could come from this not trusting whether people are going to be what you just said before. It's stable. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm just, we can look at a birth chart all of our life, and things can constantly come out and show us stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'd like to just tap on the recent past. There was some very important astrological aspects going on with you in 2020 and 2021, which should have both years. It was sort of an extended period, which led to 2022, which I'll get into, which should have been a successful year for you. I don't know what you did, whether it was through studies or travel or what. But 2020, 2021, I'm curious, was that a change of job, a change of where you were living, a change of... That should have been a massive transformational period.
Yes, I switched. I studied into a new field.
Yes.
And to go more into helping people.
Good.
And this is something I've kind of been thinking about for, the last 10 to 15 years.
Okay.
And that felt really good to make that switch and really aligned with more what I want to be doing.
Okay, and that was 2020, 2021?
Yeah.
Did it involve, I'm curious, where you were living? I mean, I know we were under that situation, but...
Mostly in lockdowns, so I was kind of... The living situation wasn't great, but the studying was actually what helped me get through...
Yeah, and then what did you do with that in 2022?
Well, the interesting thing was I made a slight pivot again back to the arts and connected youth and arts, and 2022 really felt like I had found the perfect fit between these different things that I wanted to do.
Yeah, it was opportunistic and very resourceful, and usually we see that as somebody going through a very empowered period where they could even start their own business or start some kind of serious study program or whatever it might be, whatever the case might be. But it's definitely highlighted here. So I would tell you that those changes that went on with you career-wise are very marked for 2020, 2021. Like, this will be significant in your life, and you already feel that way, right?
Yeah, definitely.
About it. Okay.
It's a big shift that I've kind of been looking for.
Okay, one other thing I want to check out here at the age of 14, 15, 16, 17, age of 18, okay? So age of 18, that should have been a whole new start in your life, possibly with where you were living and what you were doing and everything. Is that right on?
The biggest change, I lived
exciting, like being
year.
More of who you really are.
Couldn't resonate more with that.
Okay.
I lived overseas for a year on a program and was learning a lot about youth, education.
Okay, so it's all a thread.
All of that stuff, and I also made the closest friends of my life there, and it was a real separation from high school.
Yes.
Realizing the people in high school weren't the kind of people that really worked for me.
Right.
And made much deeper connections than I ever had before at that age. And also the first time I lived independently out of home.
Yes.
So, absolutely, that's like the pivot of my whole life.
Yes, absolutely. As an astrologer, and when people listen to this that study astrology, it's perfect to get the corroboration, because that's exactly what should have happened. It should have been independence, establishing yourself, something new and exciting. Okay, so that's absolutely, these are like marked events, as far as I'm concerned, with destiny. And this is, these are major life events that are important to your individual development. Do you understand what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm just take a look here if there's anything else that pops out strong in terms of ages. Because you're now 33, right? Mm-hmm. So that would be... Okay, so this was happening... Oh, no, this will come up later at 38, so that's coming up later. Yeah. So you're also... I would just tell you, sort of, to finish this up, because I'm looking for other things I could jump around to. I mean, I can see here that, like, the age of 13... We were talking about 12 before... that you told me, just refresh my memory on 12, that your grandfather was sick. That's right. But the following year, were you rewarded when you were 13 years old? Did you gain some kind of recognition, do well in school, get some rewards, something through even friends, groups? Yeah. What was that at age 13? Because that should have been quite positive, very positive. Yeah,
well, there's kind of coming of age time, and that was kind of marked by the community. And
did you start? Family. I was curious. Did you have your first little job at age 13? Did somebody give you some money or you get a bonus or anything like that?
I guess with those coming of age celebrations, there's presents and things to do with that as well.
Okay, so there was a coming of age sort of thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I guess it was also that kind of transition into high school, and I think maybe it was starting to be clear that I was quite good academically.
Yes.
And that could succeed in that realm.
Yes. Okay.
As things were getting kind of more serious from primary school.
Okay, makes sense. And then one more thing that should have been a quite important, well, I would say positive event would have been 6 years later. So I just said 13, 6 would bring us to age 19. Was that a romantic situation? Was that something, again, it could have been with groups of people that you associate with, could have been with some kind of potential recognition from your career. It doesn't have to be a mind-blowing thing, but I was just curious if 19 just resonates as a positive age for you, whatever that involved.
The year that I lived overseas and was really formative, that was my 18 to 19.
That was 18. Okay, this goes into the 18 to 19 flow. Yeah, yes. Very good, very positive. Okay, and the last thing I would just tell you, if it helps you, is that you're in a situation, you're under the influence right now of a transit that is between now and March of 2024. It's kind of like I feel this impulsivity to fulfill my needs. I'm reprogramming myself in a new way.
Yes.
Absolutely can have to do with this coaching children, creativity with children, all these kinds of things. And I think December, right around Christmas time, will be important for it as another piece of development, and then it should come to finalization, fruition, all that stuff in about March of 2024. Okay. Do you have plans along that way? I mean, or do you feel this? Do you feel this sort of like the ground shaking under your feet? It's sort of like this urgency to express yourself, I would say, in a creative way, or to get on with some kind of
Yeah, definitely, and the idea when I go back home is to really put those roots into that work that I want to get.
It's coming,
and that's really what.
So I want to leave you with on that positive note that it's coming. You know what I mean? And I think like whatever goes on around Christmas will be an important piece of it, and then just don't be impatient, because by March you've got something. You've sort of reprogrammed yourself in a new way. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's career-related. And it's related even to, potentially, foreign cultures, internationalism. It could have to do with travel, could have to do with higher-minded study, could have to do with teaching, learning. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities here, but it's an exciting time for you,
Amazing,
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's all I wanted to... Yeah, I was just jumping around, looking at a few things. But I would... inquire with your family around that age of 5, 6, just to understand, more of, because I feel like you may have felt at the age of around 5, 6, like you had to defend yourself or stand up for yourself or find a new way of expressing yourself. I know it sounds crazy at such an early age, but it could ring a bell for you later, and be significant.
I can definitely ask about that.
Okay, awesome. So thank you so much for allowing me to record this and share this. Thank you. Okay.